Saint Jerome, born Eusebius Hieronymus Sophronius around 347 AD in the town of Stridon, on the border of Dalmatia and Pannonia, modern-day Croatia, Slovenia, grew up in a Christian family of some means. His parents gave him a strong education, and as a young man he was sent to Rome, where he studied grammar, rhetoric, and philosophy, under some of the finest teachers of his time. In Rome, Jerome immersed himself in the classical works of Cicero, Virgil, and Plautus, developing a deep love for Latin literature. Yet alongside this fascination with the pagan classics came a struggle. His conscience was drawn to Christ. Eventually, in his late teens or early 20s, he received baptism, marking the beginning of his deep but often restless spiritual journey. Although baptized, Jerome's conversion was not immediate or easy. His sharp wit and biting sarcasm often got him into quarrels. Seeking purification, he withdrew around 374 AD to live as a hermit in the desert of Chalcis, in Syria. Saint Jerome had a famous vision. He dreamt that he was accused before Christ's judgment seat of being a Ciceronian, not a Christian, because of his attachment to classical literature. Struck with guilt, he vowed to dedicate himself entirely to the Bible and the service of God. Jerome's scholarship and ascetic reputation grew, and he was ordained a priest, though he never became a bishop. In 382 AD, he returned to Rome and soon became the secretary to Pope Damasus III. Recognizing Jerome's linguistic genius, Pope Damasus commissioned him to produce a reliable Latin translation of the Bible. At that time, various poor Latin versions circulated, often inconsistent. Jerome began revising the Gospels, and later moved to translate much of the Old Testament directly from Hebrew rather than the Greek Septuagint. After Pope Damasus's death, Jerome faced opposition and criticism in Rome, especially due to his strict moral preaching and his closeness with devout Roman noblewomen like St. Paula and Eustochium, who followed him in his ascetic lifestyle. In 386 AD, Jerome left Rome for the Holy Land, settling in Bethlehem. There, with the support of Paula, he established monasteries and a hospice for pilgrims. He dedicated the rest of his life to study teaching correspondence and defending the faith. In Bethlehem, St. Jerome worked tirelessly, translating the Bible into Latin, completing the Vulgate, writing commentaries on nearly every book of Scripture, producing countless letters, many of which survive today, giving us insight into his passionate, fiery personality, engaging in polemics often fiercely against heresies like Arianism, Pelagianism, and Origenism. Jerome was known for his brilliant mind but also his sharp temper. He could be deeply compassionate, especially toward the poor and toward women seeking spiritual guidance. But he was also infamous for sarcasm and harsh words toward opponents. Despite this, his life reveals a man consumed with one mission: to know and teach sacred scripture. He saw the Bible as the very lifeblood of Christian living. Jerome's famous line, "Ignorance of Scripture is ignorance of Christ," embodies his belief in the centrality of the Bible to faith. Saint Jerome died in 420 AD in Bethlehem, leaving a profound legacy as a doctor of the Church, though later his relics were transferred to Rome's Basilica of Santa Maria Maggiore. The Church honors him as a doctor of the Church, celebrating his feast day on September 30th.